Welcome back to DAZN GP today. With a commanding 120-point lead after his Czech GP victory at Brno, Marc Márquez has delivered the ultimate reality check to his rivals. I can only lose. The 8-time world champion's 5th consecutive Sprint/Grand Prix double of 2025 not only extended his records, but also shifted his mindset from chase to defense, yet he insists he won't dial back the aggression. On a sun-baked Sunday at the Czech GP, Marco Bezzecchi delivered another podium for Aprilia, his latest in a string of top 3 finishes before the summer break. Fresh from a DAZN interview and post-race radio chat, the Italian peeled back the layers of his performance, revealing where he risked it all, how he gauged Marc Márquez's strategy, and why traction and electronics remain Aprilia's next frontier. Bagnaia came within a whisker of a podium finish at Brno, only to fall short when his once-lethal braking failed him. In a candid DAZN post-race chat with Bezzecchi Ruiz, the Ducati rider dissected the race moments that slipped away, revealed why his signature strength has evaporated, and confessed his worries as the summer break looms. Jorge Martin's 7th-place finish in the Czech Grand Prix was more than just points on the board, it was a statement. After a nightmare first half of 2025 filled with injuries and contract disputes, the reigning world champion returned to MotoGP at Brno and earned praise from Aprilia boss Massimo Rivola, who called it a special comeback that highlighted both Martin's resilience and the RSGP's competitiveness. Don't forget to click subscribe button and the bell icon for MotoGP news update. After a near-flawless weekend at Brno and a brutal 0-point race for brother Alex Marquez, the 8-time world champion now sees the title in his hands, and the pressure to protect it. I can only lose. So I have 10 races to go, I need to keep the same mentality. But the records, I don't care. I just want to be world champion again, Marc Márquez said. It's a striking admission, calm and honest, delivered by a rider who's tasted both domination and despair. The message to the paddock is unmistakable. Catching him is now nearly impossible. Brno marked Marquez's 5th consecutive double win, Sprint and Sunday, and his 70th career Grand Prix victory, cementing him as the second most successful rider in history. This wasn't just about speed. It was about calculated control. After briefly slipping to third behind Bezzecchi, Marquez waited until lap 8 to strike, then controlled the race with surgical precision. When I felt the first drop of the tires is when I attacked. In the second part of the race I felt better and better. Despite the championship lead, Marquez insists his mentality won't change. He won't shift to point-preserving tactics, even if the margin allows it. To finish controlling the points is not, and will not be my way. If I can attack, I will attack every race. For Marquez, the thrill is in the fight, not just the math. That mindset may thrill fans, but it's a warning shot for anyone hoping he'll coast to the finish. Alex Marquez failed to score in Brno after a penalty for a clash with Joan Mir. Bagnaia, despite starting from pole, faded to 4th and now trails his teammate by 168 points. Barring a complete collapse, Marc Márquez has built a title fortress. With half the grid scrambling for second, his focus now shifts to execution, one perfect weekend at a time. The win in Brno wasn't flashy, but it was brilliant. Starting strong, conceding position to a hard-charging Bezzecchi, then reclaiming control with a tire-savvy mid-race move. The plan was to try to lead from the beginning, but when Marco overtook me, I decided to wait. When I attacked, I managed the distance. It was enough for the 25 points. It's the kind of race that doesn't make highlight reels, but wins championships. And Marquez knows it. With the summer break looming, Marquez heads into August not chasing titles, but guarding one. His 2025 campaign has evolved from a fight to a formality, but don't expect him to back off. As rivals stumble and strategy sharpens, Marc Márquez is aiming for history, not headlines. And if Brno was any sign, the only person who can stop him is himself. Within the opening 2 laps, Bezzecchi threw caution aside to secure a front tire advantage, especially crucial when overtaking Fabio Quartararo into turn 1. No, I have not gotten used to the podium at all. But I'm very happy. A race, especially in the first 2 laps, where I took quite a few risks, especially when overtaking Quartararo. That move gave me the key to the race. Marco Bezzecchi statement. By forcing the pace early, Bezzecchi avoided getting bogged down on worn rubber. His gamble under pressure set the tone for a controlled, podium-sealing ride. Running just behind the champion, Bezzecchi sensed Marquez was riding within himself, reserving precious tenths for the critical phases of the race. I knew Marc was managing the race. He had a few tenths saved, so I decided not to exaggerate at the beginning. I was pushing but precise. Recognizing Marquez's deliberate pace allowed Bezzecchi to balance attack and defense, chasing speed without overcooking his own limits. Despite his strong braking and mid-corner speed, Bezzecchi highlighted areas where Aprilia trails Ducati, namely traction and power delivery controls. We can say Marc is a little better when it comes to traction. I was strong under braking, but in traction and electronics we have to work and improve. Aprilia's recent strides are palpable, yet the championship leader's edge underscores the fine margins still to be closed before the season's second half. Reflecting on a rocky early campaign, marred by winter test complications and inconsistent results, Bezzecchi mapped the trajectory that led to his current confidence. Clearly the start hasn't been easy, with the winter break and the tests that were complicated. I was fast but results didn't match. Then we improved, and that gave us more confidence. From testing turmoil to back-to-back podiums, Bezzecchi's journey this season exemplifies Aprilia's rapid learning curve and the rider's own mental resilience. Heading into the mid-season pause, Bezzecchi aims to keep Aprilia's development on track, and his own podium streak intact. We will try to maintain that taste. As teams regroup, Aprilia will focus on traction mapping and electronics tweaks. For Bezzecchi, the goal is simple: return refreshed and ready to hunt down Marquez's next margins. Brno's podium ceremony marked another milestone for Marco Bezzecchi and Aprilia, proof that calculated risks and continuous upgrades can produce top-tier results. While Marquez's conserved tenths remain the benchmark, Bezzecchi's blend of daring starts, strategic observation, and honest analysis suggests the Italian is closing the gap, one podium at a time. With Pedro Acosta fading in Bagnaia's mirrors, the Italian closed to within 2 tenths, but then had nothing left under braking to launch a final attack. I don't think I was going to attack Pedro, because as always, I got to 2 tenths and then I couldn't brake anymore. Pecco Bagnaia statement. That fleeting moment, so close to the rostrum, vanished when Bagnaia's front felt soft, a stark contrast to the fierce stops that once defined his rides. In the opening laps, Bagnaia pushed beyond comfort, only to watch rivals slip past under brakes he could no longer master. I forced myself to push. It was really hard for me. Everyone was overtaking me, and my strong point, which has always been braking, this year everyone was overtaking me there. The Ducati's balance has betrayed its rider. Where Bagnaia once made ground in corners, now he fights merely to keep rivals at bay, and finding that edge has proven elusive. For years, Bagnaia's late brake heroics were his trademark. Today, the front end under Ducati's DNA feels numb, forcing him to guess rather than attack. My performance always came from braking, and this year I can't brake hard. My strong point is no longer ready. When your biggest advantage melts into a vulnerability, every lap becomes a compromise, balancing pace with the fear of locking the front. Despite endless setup tweaks through the season's early rounds, Bagnaia admits the root issue lies deep in the Desmoseta-sized chassis, and may be unchangeable. We're trying everything, but it is difficult. The bike is the same problem, its DNA is this, and it can't be changed. Ducati's engineers face a stark challenge: reconcile the bike's innate aggressiveness with a rider desperate to reclaim his braking edge. As the paddock clears for mid-season, Bagnaia reflects on a fourth-place finish, and the untapped potential he'll carry into the hiatus. "I'm going into the break with a fourth place, after giving everything I had, and knowing I have the potential to fight for the win, but my style with this bike is costing us." The upcoming summer pause will test Ducati's development pace and Bagnaia's patience alike. Can the two realign? Only time, and track testing, will tell. Brno laid bare Pecco Bagnaia's current Achilles heel, braking that no longer bites. While his pace remains formidable, without his trademark stops, podiums will stay just out of reach. As Ducati heads into the break, all eyes will be on whether they can reboot the bike's DNA, or whether Bagnaia will have to ride around a weakness he once turned into a weapon. Martin had not raced since his crash at the Qatar Grand Prix, which compounded earlier injuries and forced him to miss all testing in the first 3 rounds. After months of recovery, he made his full race return in Brno. "I'm super happy for Jorge because we didn't know anything about his condition really. It's a special comeback. I'm really happy." Massimo Rivella statement. With expectations low and fitness still in question, Martin exceeded both, qualifying directly to Q2, taking P11 in the sprint, and fighting his way to P7 on Sunday. The Spaniard showed immediate pace by locking himself into Q2. While he qualified P12 and didn't feature in the sprint front group, his Racecraft shone over 21 laps, climbing and holding steady in the top 10. For a rider lacking race rhythm and still testing his physical limits, 7th place marks a meaningful result, not just in the standings, but in personal momentum heading into the break. Martin had been embroiled in a contract clause dispute since the French GP, reportedly exploring an early exit from Aprilia. But last Thursday, he confirmed he'd see out his current deal. "You can see the bike is fast, so I think he will have a big motivation in him." With legal dust settling and a competitive machine beneath him, Martin may have found renewed belief in both the Aprilia project and his path forward in 2025. Bezzecchi's podium and Raul Fernandez's P5 capped a powerful collective showing for Aprilia at Brno. Martin's return made it a trifecta of top 10 finishes. Not perfect because it's perfect when you do P1 and P2. But super happy for Marco, super happy for Jorge, super happy for Raul. With 3 riders inside the top 7, Aprilia proved they have both the depth and pace to push Ducati and KTM into the second half of the season. Aprilia now sits second in the manufacturer's standings, 243 points behind Ducati and 12 clear of KTM. They've also scored enough to avoid dropping into a lower concession tier. While they won't receive additional development benefits this year, Aprilia's consistent point scoring reflects their evolution into a true factory force, despite setbacks for their headline star. With just 9 points on the board in 2025, Martin still sits P21 in the standings, 1 ahead of substitute Lorenzo Savadori and 8 clear of Samkiat Chantra. The stat line doesn't flatter him, yet. But if Brno was a spark, the second half could see the champion chase redemption, even if the title itself is out of reach. Jorge Martin's 7th at Brno may not rewrite championship standings, but it may redefine the rest of his season. For Aprilia and Massimo Rivella, it was confirmation that the champion still has the hunger. For Martin himself, it was a return to form, focus, and the fight. And with full health and a competitive bike, the next chapter may finally be his to write. Thanks for watching DAZN GP today, and this is your MotoGP news update. And see you next time!